In this video, I'm going to show you how to make a simple double drawstring bag. It's just a bag with a double drawstring. All you need is a 32 by 12 inch piece of fabric, two 28-inch pieces of ribbon, your basic cutting supplies, and basic sewing supplies, scissors, sewing machine, thread, iron and ironing board. I'll start off by cutting out. My fabric is folded in half lengthwise, so I'm going to line up the folded edge with the 0 mark. And trim the first edge straight. Slide my ruler over to the 12-inch mark. And trim that. Now I'm going to cut at the 32 length, which since it's on the fold, I'm going to cut it at 16. Now the bag is cut out. Now here's the 12 by 32 inch piece. The next step is going to be to make the casing. It's going to need to be turned 3/8 of an inch and then 2 inches. I'm going to mark that to make it easier for ironing. I'm going to mark my first line at 3/4 of an inch. The second line will be at 3 5/8 inch from my first line. Now I'm going to repeat this at the other end of the fabric. Again, 3/4 of an inch. And then 3 5/8 from that first line. Now I'm going to press it. Okay. The first turn is to the first line. That makes it 3/8 of an inch. My first fold is at 3/8 of an inch. The second, bring it down to the second line. And that gives me the 2-inch fold. Now I'll do the other end. Now I'll take it to the sewing machine. The next step is to zigzag the edges. I'm going to zigzag the 2 long edges. You want to be encasing this raw edge. Always trim your threads. Now I'm going to pin the bag together. I'm going to lay it right sides together and match the creases in the marking lines. Now I'm going to mark an opening for right here where the ribbon pulls through. And that opening is going to be right here, 1.25 inches below this crease line. And I like to mark it well so I don't forget and sew that opening closed. You can mark a little line. Pin it with double pins. Whatever works to remind you not to sew it closed. Mark it on both sides. So the opening will be 1.25 inches down from your top fold and 3/4 of an inch up from this marked line. All right, now I'm ready to sew. I'm going to sew both sides all the way down, remembering to skip for my openings. Sewing with a 3/8 inch seam allowance. Remember to back stitch at the beginning and end. Always backstitch very well at either side of the opening. That point's going to get a lot of stress, so you want to make sure it's well secured. The next step is to pin the casing. I'm going to trim the threads away from the casing opening here. And then I'm going to just press this seam open with my fingers. Just do a quick finger press on both sides. And then refold it back to my original fold lines. I'll start at the seams and pin this together. Pin it with the seams matching. I'll pin it at quarter points first, and then in between each one of those pins. Now I'm ready to sew my casing down. I'm going to use the free arm to do this. I'm starting at the side seam. I'm going to just start sewing. I'm stitching right along the folded edge. Now I'm back around to the beginning. I'm just going to overlap a few stitches and then do a few very small stitches that will secure the ends. That's my first stitching line for the casing. Now I'm going to mark for the second. My second stitching line is going to be 5/8 of an inch away from the first stitching line. So using this little ruler, I'm going to set it at 5/8 from that stitching line and mark it. Just keep turning it and mark it all the way around. Now I'm going to sew along this line, and that'll make my other side of the casing. Again, I start at the side seam and just start sewing. I'll overlap a few I'll overlap a few stitches and then take a few really small stitches. Clip all the threads. Now I'll turn the bag right side out. And insert the ribbon. I'm just going to use a safety pin. Now here's the little hole from the little place in the seam that I skipped. So I'm just going to lace the ribbon through all the way around. And back out this hole. Make the ends even. Tie them together. I'll go ahead and trim them on an angle to keep them from fraying. Now I'll insert the other ribbon, starting on the opposite side. Again, make the edges even. Tie a knot. And trim them at a slant. So here's the finished bag. There's all kinds of things you could use it for. This one I'm going to put my little boy's toys in.